Oh, good afternoon, good evening, good morning. It's evening here, wherever you are when you see this video. Thank you for watching me, Dorothea, for joining me, Dorothea, on Through an Orthodox Christian Lens. It is September 2nd. Already September. Wow. Okay, so we're going to be talking about a few stories that are concerning about the Ukrainian Orthodox Church. That's the canonical church in Ukraine, and an issue that's been going on in Greece for the past couple years, and the most recent remarks on this particular issue. So let's start with the first one, the Ukrainian one. Ukrainian authorities want largest Christian church banned. The Ukrainian Orthodox Church was previously designated an entity linked to Russia, but has refused to correct violations. Sure. Ukrainian authorities have filed a case with the country's top administrative court to have the Ukrainian Orthodox Church, UOC, legally dissolved. Late last month, the country's State Service for Ethnopolitics and Freedom of Conscience declared Ukraine's largest Christian denomination an entity linked to Russia. Well, of course it's linked to Russia, just like most churches. The Orthodox churches are all in communion, so they are linked. And it is the Ukrainian and the Russian brethren are linked. Okay, Slavic people are linked in this area. Okay, anyway, this is just really disgusting. The hatred toward Russia, and so they want to break the communion and canonical ties of the churches. That's my take. Since the escalation of the Ukraine conflict in February 2022, Vladimir Zelensky government has taken an increasingly hard line against the UOC, seizing several of its properties and opening criminal cases against a number of its clerics. During a press briefing on Tuesday, Viktor Zelensky, the head of Ukraine's State Service for Ethnopolitics and Freedom of Conscience, announced that the lawsuit had been launched last Friday. He said that after the church refused to comply with the authorities' demands, a decision was made that the UOC should not be considered a part of Ukraine's religious life. So they're going to cut off the church from all the Orthodox Ukrainians out there. This must be so alarming to the Ukrainian people. He added that the church had filed several counter lawsuits. The UOC has been self-governing since the 1990s, but maintained a canonical connection to the Russian Church, Orthodox Church. In May 2022, it declared independence. Nevertheless, late last month, the Ukrainian authorities found the UOC to be associated with a foreign religious organization whose activities are banned in Ukraine. Metropolitan Onufry, the highest bishop of the UOC, and whose Ukrainian citizenship was revoked last month by Zelensky, has refused to comply with the government's order to correct violations. That's because they're under the Moscow Patriarchate, is pretty much what I understand. Commenting on the latest developments, Russia's ambassador at large, Rodion Morochnik, told TASS on Tuesday that the Ukrainian authorities have made up a pseudo-legal mechanism for destroying the Orthodox Church they hate, trampling on the religious feelings of millions upon millions of Ukrainians. Outspoken Russian MP Vitaly Milanov told RT that the Ukrainian authorities' decision was one of the signs of the impending apocalypse. Wow, great way to put it. The UN and several international human rights organizations have accused Kiev of overreach and interfering with freedom of religion due to its actions against the UOC. Yes, there is that freedom of religion issue. Speaking in May, Russian Foreign Minister Sergei Lavrov vowed that Moscow will not leave the Orthodox people of Ukraine in trouble. Yes. These acts are being carried out with the connivance and even support of many European countries, he stated. Very important information here. Very important that Sergei Lavrov said that they will not leave the Orthodox people of Ukraine in trouble. And as you recall, the Orthodox prophecies say just about that. Russia will march down there and free the Ukrainian Orthodox Church. From what I understand, it's going to all be connected again and everything's going to be okay. God willing, soon. The Ukrainians have, Ukrainian Orthodox have suffered a lot since this war started, and this Antichrist type of activity has, it's against Christ, against his church, it's against his body, this activity. So they're going to try all this, but it's not going to change that the church, the militant church, will, that means the one on earth, because the triumphant church is the one in his kingdom, heaven. According to the Saint Lawrence and Elder Jonah, soon this Ukraine-Russia war will end. And then there's the monks in Ukraine that said years back, I think it was like 2011 or so, that half year after the schismatics, or whatever they called them at that time, had kicked all of the monks out of the lava caves and were using the caves for themselves to do their pseudo worship liturgies, that it would end. Well, let's hope that that's happening soon, God willing. Now, along with that story, I have one in Greece. There's a lot of talk about the ID card. It's been talked about since 2023. The monks, abbots on Mount Athos, spoke up against this new ID card, which is, the personal one that everything's on it, kind of like what they want to do here. Globally, they want to do that. So let me give you Elder Parthenios' newest message on that. Okay, so Elder Parthenios of Mount Athos warns against Greece's personal ID number system. This was on August 29, 2025. Elder Parthenios, abbot of St. Paul's Monastery on Mount Athos and one of the Holy Mountain's most beloved spiritual guides, has issued a stern warning to Orthodox Christians against accepting Greece's new personal identification number, calling it illegal and demonic. In a recorded message to his spiritual children, the elder declares that what the state is doing is illegal because it's not spiritual, and they're not spiritual people to direct the church. The church is directed by our Lord Jesus Christ. He is the head of the church. This matter of identity concerns us Christians unbearably because we are baptized in the name of the Holy Trinity, and we are chrismated. We are children of the church, children of God, Elder Parthenios states. And how dare they do this, wanting to put codes on us, etc., dark things, and an identity card whose contents we don't know. The elder urges the faithful not to rush to obtain their personal number, emphasizing the Christian understanding of personhood. We're not atoms, we're Christians in the name of the triune God, and numbers and such things don't save us. The body and blood of Christ save us. Elder Parthenios warns that accepting such measures represents acquiescence to a broader agenda. Tomorrow they'll tell us they'll create a cashless society, but Christ didn't create a cashless society. He left us free, each one to think and decide and act. All these things are demonic and tempting. They're of atheist people. These are from the Masonic lodges, he stated plainly. We must confess, the time has come. We're in the years of the apocalypse. The controversy over personal identification numbers has been ongoing in Greece for many years, with Mount Athos consistently voicing opposition. In August 2024, the sacred community of Mount Athos, representing all 20 ruling monasteries, sent a letter to the Greek Minister of Digital Governance, questioning the mandatory nature of the personal identification number system and expressing serious concern and worry about the protection of citizens' personal data. The sacred community asked pointedly, can the General Secretariat of Public Administration Information Systems, where according to the law the PIN registry will be maintained, assure the security of our personal information? The Greek Holy Synod approved the ID number system in June 2025. Well, isn't that astonishing? The Greek Holy Synod, how holy are they? The Greek Holy Synod approved the ID number system in June 2025, so just recently, stating that it merely replaces existing numbers that citizens already possess. However, not all bishops support this decision, with His Eminence Metropolitan Nectarius of Corfu recently issuing a strong critique arguing that the Synod's approval represents profound theological failure and warning about the possibility of universal control, depersonalization, alteration of human dignity, and undermining freedom of conscience. Elder Parthenius concludes his message with urgency. Be careful, be careful, be careful. Stand well. Tomorrow they'll tell us they're stealing our degrees and such, and we'll put on the seal. We've come to the years of the apocalypse. Know it, feel it, that this is where we're going. I don't judge anyone. I'm not a judge. God didn't make me a judge, but I don't follow lawlessness either, the elder says, encouraging Christians to maintain their faith. We believe in this, we confess this, we feel this, and with this we beseech God to close our eyes. Our love for God and the Theotokos and our saints, everything else is superfluous. It's unnecessary. Wow. It's good that they have people speaking out on this. Elders that speak out and say something. Unfortunately, it feels like in America, most of the elders and bishops and people, heads of our churches in this country are pretty quiet, And if they do speak up, they sometimes say the things that aren't right. Well, of course, that's really sad. We did have Elder Ephraim from Arizona, but he died, I think, at the end of 2019 or beginning of 2020. I can't remember, but recently. So he was speaking on certain things. We've lost him to speak in this country on earth, but we still have some globally speaking on these issues. What I want to do is I want to share now with you these elders, I think, were connected to St. Paisios. St. Paisios said a lot of stuff about the personal ID cards that were coming about, and people were already worrying and discussing this in the early 1990s before St. Paisios died in 1994. I think it was 1994. And I'm going to share with you through this book, Spiritual Awakenings, St. Paisios and Mount Athos Spiritual Councils 2. They actually have a whole section on the ID cards. So I'm going to open that up and read that little, it's a kind of it's a couple pages, if you can bear with me. It's very important. So the person usually asking, it just says someone said, so somebody's asking him questions. Okay, so somebody asked, okay, so Yerinda, we use the 5,000 drachma currency note, which bears the number 666, don't we? It's just going to be the same with the new identification cards. The 5,000, and then St. Paisios says, the 5,000 drachma note is currency, and the English gold sovereign bears the image of Queen Victoria. This doesn't bother me. Render, therefore, unto Caesar the things that are Caesar's. But this is about my identification card. It is something personal. It is not a mere currency note. Identification means that what the word says. A person is identified personally by what that card states. A card contains the devil, and I sign that I accept it. How can I do that? Yerinda, what is the relationship between the ID card and the seal? The ID card is not the seal. It is the introduction to the seal. Yerinda, people are asking what to do about the new ID cards. When people ask you, it is better to advise them to consult with their spiritual fathers and to be patient until we see how the church responds to this matter. We saw how the church responds. The Holy Synod in Greece has actually answered this question, but this was a long time ago, so let's just keep going. Many are asking questions, but few understand the answers. Since I have written about this clearly in the pamphlet The Signs of the Times, let each act according to his conscience. A few people have said, of course, well, that is the opinion of one monk. It is not the Church's position. But I did not express my own opinion. I simply stated the words of Christ, of the Gospel, because our opinion must be subject to the will of God as recorded in the Gospel. others who say the opposite of what I said, claim that Father Paisius said it. Still, others who hear such things, seeing that they are such very serious matters, do not bother to ask if that is what I really said, but just believe whatever they hear. I am not afraid to speak the truth openly. Some people come to my calavi and throw sixes in the box. That is nothing, after all. But once they threw a sign outside my door, I thought someone had come and not found me and had written a sign, "He's out," so others would see it. Then I looked and saw the most abusive words, which I had not heard even as a layman. This whole present situation will be swept away, but first we will go through stormy times. People are roused, and we too must rise up with much prayer. Some people are concerned over the matter of the ID cards, while others are exploiting the issue in order to create problems. The church must take a correct position, for sure. She must speak out and explain to the faithful so that they will understand that if they accept the new ID, it will amount to a spiritual fall. Okay, I'm going to say that again. If they accept the new ID, it will amount to a spiritual fall. The church must also ask the state to at least not make the new ID cards obligatory. If the church takes a serious position and the state respects the freedom of choice of the faithful, then whoever wants can have a new ID card, and those who want to keep the old one can do so. In this case, the strong-willed who keep the old card will have to endure the abuse of the many who will oppose them. Most people will just go about their business. Those who wish to be served will have the new cards, and the other poor people, the devout, will have the old identification card and will have to endure hardships. Now that the minister has promised not to place the 666 on the new ID card, so this is back, in the probably 1990s, late 80s, 1990s, visibly or invisibly, that too is something. We'll be patient and things will clear up in time. It is something even to say that they will not put the 666 on the cards. They themselves deny it, but we'll see what they do in the end. But by the time the new ID cards come out, it is entirely possible that we may have the wrath of God upon us. Okay. After all, it is not likely that everyone will have to have a new ID card within 24 hours. I wonder if he's talking about World War III, the wrath of God thing, because of our sins. Let's wait to see the first ones that come out. Yeah. They will be examined, and if the minister reneges on his word, then the struggle will be a righteous one. If we continue the demonstrations now, they will claim, "Look, they are shouting and creating trouble without reason. A dog, if it is a good guard dog, will bark when the thief comes. When the thief leaves, the dog stops barking. If it continues to bark, then it is not a good guard dog." Yerenda, it was also said by the authorities that since we have religious tolerance in our country, the religion of each person should not be written on the new ID cards. Yes, this does not interest them, but it certainly interests me. I am from, because this is what identifies me. The card must state where I am from and what I am. If religion is not included in the card, there will be problems. For example, someone will go to the town hall for a marriage license. If his ID card says Orthodox, regardless of how good a Christian he really is, then it will be all right. But if it does not state the religion, how can they give out a marriage license? For the church, this will become a complicated issue. Now, if religion is stated on an optional basis, this would also be a sort of confession. Europe is Europe. Here, things are different. Okay, so this is about the insidious way of introducing the seal. Little by little, after the credit card and the ID card, that is, after the personal record of each person, they will proceed insidiously to the seal. Through various cunning means, they will compel people to accept the seal on the forehead or on the arm. We already know all this, but I'm reading this anyway because there's something I want to get to towards the end here. They will force the issue and say, you can only use the card. Currency will be abolished. People will give their card to the stores to buy what they need, and the merchant will get his money from the bank. Whoever does not have a card will not be able to buy or sell. On the other hand, they will begin promoting the other, more perfect system by marking every person with the 666 using laser beams. Laser beams. People find that strange, but don't you think that actually means that he's actually talking about like barcodes, scanning machines? I think that might be what that's about. Let me go back in there. Using laser beams on the forehead or the arm, which will not be visible on the outside. Yeah. Are scanners visible after they scan something? No. At the same time, they will show on television that so-and-so stole the card of so-and-so and took all his money from the bank, and then they will add, the most secure system is to have the seal on our forehead or arm with a laser beam, because only the bearer of this seal will know his or her own personal number. Sealing is the most secure system. Yes, I can see this happening because of all the identity theft and all that. You definitely can see this. No one can take our head or our arm, nor will anybody be able to see the seal embedded in us. That's why they let thieves and other criminals to rampage. 15 monastic cells were robbed near Caries. One person was killed while being robbed, so people will find an opportunity to violate laws and traditions and take whatever they want. Let us say, for example, that someone wants to encroach on somebody's field and claims that it once belonged to his grandfather, who had rented it to some shepherds as a pasture for their sheep, and you cannot verify this. Then the authorities will say, unfortunately, as it is, we cannot check the facts. We can only do this with the computer, and then they will proceed with the sealing. The computer will then do the search to find out whether or not someone is or is not marked and sealed so they can be helped with their problem or not. The 3.5 years will be difficult, during which the few who do not agree with this system will endure hardships. Some excuse will be discovered to throw these people in jail. After a year, they will be taken to another city for questioning and more legal proceedings, going from one city to another. Finally, the authorities will say, we're sorry. You are innocent after all. If only you had been sealed, we would have been able to gather the necessary information in a minute. Now we cannot check the facts. Yerunda, will they be able to impose the seal on everybody by force? They too are refined. They are too refined to do that. They'll be courteous about it. After all, they are Europeans. They will display some superiority. They won't torture people, but anyone who is not sealed will simply not be able to live normally in society. They will then again say, your troubles come from not being sealed. If you accept the seal, you will not have these difficulties. If anyone happens to have gold sovereigns or dollars, he will not be able to use them. So even gold coins, gold currency, or gold bars, whatever it is, those are not going to be able to be used as well. For some reason, I didn't even think that included that when I first read about the currency money and all that. But yeah, that even means that gold isn't going to work. And some people are out there buying gold and because they know the dollar's going to tank and it's not going to be worth anything. In the end time of the Antichrist, it won't matter. Where am I? He will not be able to use them. So if you can now learn to live simply and frugally, you will be able to get through those difficult years. It will be helpful to have a small field, to cultivate some wheat or potatoes, to have a few olive trees, and then with some farm animals, a goat, a few chickens, you will be able to provide for the needs of your family. For even if you were to stockpile various groceries, this would not do, because such foods do not keep. They spoil quickly. Naturally, these difficult times will be short, 3 to 3.5 years. The time will be shortened for the sake of the elect. Again, if everybody's been raptured off, why would he need to shorten the time of the Antichrist for the sake of his elect? His elect are his people, the Christians, the Orthodox Christians, in our case. So, yeah. They will not realize how quickly the time will pass. God will not leave man without help. Yerunda, will Christ intervene during these difficult years? Yes, yes. The saints, Panagia, Christ will appear to save even one wronged man with a good disposition because he deserves divine help, and even more so when the whole world will be going through such a difficult time. Now it will be a now he's talking about where we are, I think, now, in our era here before World War III. Now it will be a passing storm, a short occupation by the Antichrist Satan. He will be given such a slap by Christ, all the nations will be shaken up, and then peace will prevail in the world for a long time. During this time, Christ will provide the opportunity for his creation to be saved. Is Christ going to abandon his creation? No, he will appear when mankind has reached an impasse and will save it from the clutches of the Antichrist. That is talking about here after World War III. People will return to Christ, and a spiritual serenity will prevail over all the earth for many years. Some people associate the second coming of Christ with this intervention of his. My thinking tells me that this will not be the second coming of Christ when he comes to judge, but only an intervention of Christ, for there are so many events that have not taken place. Exactly. Christ will intervene, slap down this whole system. Won't that be great? Slap down the whole ID system, the monitoring systems, all these things that are against the church. Terrible things going on. They're going to be uprooted, exposed, and out, according to Elder Joseph Afadapuri as well. Christ will intervene, slap down this whole system, prevail over all evil, and transform it into good in the end. The roads will be filled with many shrines of devotion. The buses will have icons on their billboards. All the people will believe and will want you to tell them all about Jesus Christ. Thus, the gospel will be proclaimed throughout the whole world, and then Christ will come as judge to judge the world. Judgment is one thing, and intervention to help his creation is another. Great information there. I hope you got a lot out of that one. So you see, he's talking about the ID that's the Holy Synod okayed in June, just a couple of months ago, or about 3 months ago, and this supposedly is going to be. I think you have to have it done by. They were going to be the cutoff when you had to have this done was, I think it was in September, like the 5th. Something like that, but they pushed it back to November. At the last thing I heard and read, I think the Holy Wisdom Channel guy, he put that out just a few days ago. In any case, all this stuff is going to be slapped down by Christ through his intervention to help us out of the clutches of the Antichrist during this particular time in these end times, this particular event that we're in now. Not when the Antichrist comes and we can't buy or sell things, but I read that whole thing because that was important as well. So I hope that you got a lot out of this. I hope it was informative, that maybe you didn't know some of this information, and I was able to give that to you, and hopefully it was beneficial. If you think it was beneficial and helpful, please go ahead and share it with others if you want to discuss it or whatever. Again, thanks so much for watching. Thanks so much for following my channel. Appreciate it very much. Hope you're having a wonderful day, morning, evening. Until next time.